You don't feel it anymore. Not the way you used to. You remember what it was like when a position would go your way, and you'd feel it in your chest, that tight electric thing that made you refresh the chart even though you told yourself you wouldn't. That's gone. You thought it would come back after a few days, then after a week. Then you stopped thinking it would come back and started wondering if something was wrong with you. You still trade. You still look at charts. But somewhere in the last few months, the thing that made it feel like something drained out and you've been sitting in what's left, trying to figure out if this is what giving up feels like, or if you're just tired. It's neither, but you don't know that yet. You used to wake up and check futures before you got out of bed. You'd have TradingView open on your phone while you made coffee, scrolling through watch lists you built at midnight because you couldn't sleep until you organized every ticker that moved the way you needed it to move. Now you forget the market's open until 10 minutes after the bell. You tell yourself you're being undisciplined. You set alarms. You ignore them. Not on purpose. They just stop meaning anything. There was a version of you that needed to know what every other trader was doing. You'd check Twitter, Discord, StockTwits, wherever people were posting fills, and you'd feel something. Envy, urgency, validation, competition, something. Now you open it and close it within seconds. The words are the same words. The setups look like setups. But reading them feels like overhearing a conversation in a language you used to speak fluently, and now it just sounds like noise. You think you're becoming cynical. You're not. Your brain just stopped pretending to care about information it doesn't need. Last week, someone posted a win on a trade you were in and got out of early. You saw it. You felt nothing. That scared you more than it should have. You used to feel something when that happened. Anger at yourself for leaving money on the table, or rationalization about why your exit was right, or at minimum, some kind of reactive thought you had to manage. Now there's just nothing. You got out where you got out. They stayed in. You made what you made. The end. You think that means you stopped caring. It doesn't. It means you stopped needing their trade to mean something about yours. But you don't trust that. So you've been trying to make yourself care again. You'll force yourself to watch a trading video, someone explaining a concept you already know, in a way that's slightly different but not really. You used to be able to sit through an hour of that. You'd take notes. You'd rewind parts. Now you're gone in 2 minutes. And not because the content is bad. It's the same content. You're different. You think that means you lost the hunger, that you're getting complacent, that you're backsliding into the version of yourself that didn't take it seriously. So you try harder. You tell yourself you'll go back to journaling every trade. You open the spreadsheet. You stare at it. You type 2 sentences and close it. Not because you're lazy, because it feels like you're performing something that used to be real and isn't anymore. The journal worked when you didn't know what you were doing. It gave you a place to put the chaos. Now the chaos is quieter, and the journal feels like you're trying to convince someone you're still serious. But there's no one watching. It's just you and a spreadsheet that doesn't need to exist. And you can feel that, and it makes you think you've lost something. You haven't lost it. You've integrated it. But that doesn't feel like progress, because progress used to feel like effort, and this feels like nothing. Your position sizing changed, and you didn't decide to change it. You just started taking smaller size, and it felt right in a way you can't explain. Your account can handle more. Your risk model says you should be bigger. But when you try to put on the size you used to put on, something in you resists. And it's not fear. You know what fear feels like. This is something else. It's disinterest in the performance of conviction. You used to trade bigger because it made you feel like you were committed, like you believed in the trade. Now you trade smaller because the belief is quiet, and it doesn't need to be loud to be real. But you think quiet means weak. So you've been trying to talk yourself into bigger size, and every time you do, the trade feels wrong even when it works. You made 4% last month, the month before that 3, the month before that 5. Your drawdowns are smaller. Your equity curve is smoother than it's ever been. And you feel worse about your trading than you did when you were chopping around break even and blowing past your risk limits twice a week. That doesn't make sense to you. It should feel better. You're doing better. But better doesn't feel like anything. And the thing you're comparing it to is the version of trading where every decision felt important and every trade felt like it meant something about who you were. You miss that, even though it was exhausting, even though it nearly broke you. You miss it because at least it felt like something. Now it feels like you're just clicking buttons. You see a setup, you take it or you don't. It works or it doesn't. You move on. There's no story. No internal narrative about what this trade means, or what it says about your growth as a trader, or whether this is the one that proves you figured it out. It's just a trade. And then another trade. And your brain keeps waiting for the part where it feels significant, and it never comes. You told yourself that if you could just get to the point where trading was boring, you'd have made it. You read that somewhere. Some trader you respected said the goal was to make it boring. You thought that sounded right. Now you're here, and boring feels like you're disappearing. You got into a debate with someone last month about risk management. You had an opinion. You said it. They disagreed. You said something back. And then, halfway through, you felt the entire conversation drain of meaning. Not because they were wrong. Not because you were right. But because you realized you didn't care if they agreed with you. And that realization landed in a place that made you uncomfortable, because you used to care very much about being right in those conversations. You used to need to win the argument because it felt like proof you knew what you were doing. Now you know what you're doing, and the argument is just two people saying words, And you can feel the exact moment where you stopped needing them to see it your way. You left the conversation. They probably thought you were being dismissive. You weren't. You just ran out of reasons to keep talking. That's been happening more. You'll be in a voice chat or a thread, people talking about trading, and you can feel yourself pulling back. Not because they're annoying, not because you're too good for the conversation, but because the conversation is solving a problem you don't have anymore, and you don't know how to be in that space without pretending you still have the problem. You tried to explain this to someone once. You said trading felt flat. They told you to take a break. You took a break. You came back. It was still flat. They said maybe you need a new strategy. You don't need a new strategy. Your strategy works. It's worked for 6 months. The strategy is fine. It's you. Something in you changed, and you don't know if the change is good or if you're just losing the part of yourself that made you capable of this in the first place. You've rewritten your trading plan 4 times in 3 months. Not because it was broken, but because every time you read it, you feel like you're reading something a previous version of you wrote, and you don't know if that version still exists. So, you rewrite it. You change the words. You tighten the rules. You add a section on psychology. You print it out. You read it once. It still doesn't feel like yours. You thought a trading plan was supposed to be something you followed. Now you realize it was something you needed when you didn't trust yourself. And you don't need it the same way anymore, but you don't know what you need instead. So you keep rewriting it, trying to find the version that feels true. And none of them do. Your watch lists are shorter. You used to track 40 tickers. Now you track 6. You didn't cut them intentionally. You just stopped looking at most of them. And one day you realized they'd been sitting there for 2 weeks without you opening them. And you deleted them. You thought that would bother you. It didn't. The 6 you kept are the only ones that move in a way that makes sense to you. The rest were just there because you thought you were supposed to be watching more. You're starting to notice how much of what you did was performance. Not for other people. For yourself. You performed the idea of what a serious trader does. You tracked everything because serious traders track everything. You reviewed your trades every Sunday because that's what you're supposed to do. You watched content because staying sharp means consuming information, and all of it made sense when you didn't know what you were doing. Now you know what you're doing, and most of it feels like theater. But you can't tell the difference between theater and discipline. So you're caught between forcing yourself to do things that don't feel real anymore and being terrified that stopping them means you're quitting. You're not quitting. You're just done pretending effort looks a certain way. But you don't believe that, so you've been trying to go back. You'll tell yourself tomorrow you're going to journal every trade again. You'll watch an entire video without skipping. You'll engage in the group chat. You'll do the things you used to do when you were improving. Because maybe if you do them again, you'll feel like you're improving again. And every time you try, it lasts about a day. Then you're back here. In this flat, quiet place where trading happens and you execute and it works, or it doesn't, and there's no emotional texture to any of it. You took a loss last Tuesday. $50 loss. You were in. It went against you. You cut it. You felt something, but it wasn't the feeling you used to feel. You used to spiral. You'd question the setup, the entry, your ability to read price, whether you should even be doing this. Now you just felt mild irritation, like you missed a step on the stairs. You closed it. You moved on. 10 minutes later, you forgot it happened. That should feel like growth. It feels like apathy. You had a winner on Thursday. Took $60. It was a clean trade. You saw it, you took it, it moved. You got out. You didn't feel proud. You didn't feel relieved. You didn't screenshot it. You used to screenshot everything. You'd save the good ones in a folder labeled proof, because on the bad days you needed to see that you were capable of getting it right. Now you don't need proof. The trade happened. It's in your P&L. That's enough. But it doesn't feel like enough, because enough is supposed to feel like something, and this feels like nothing. You're starting to think maybe you just don't want this anymore. That the absence of feeling means the desire left. And if the desire left, what's the point? You're not doing this because you need the money. You're doing it because it's supposed to mean something. And if it stops meaning something, then you're just sitting in front of a computer, moving money around for no reason. That thought has been sitting with you for a week now. Maybe longer. You haven't said it out loud. You barely let yourself think it all the way through. But it's there. The thought that maybe you should just stop. Not because you failed. Not because you blew up. But because it stopped feeling like anything and you don't know how to do something that feels like nothing. You've been planning the exit in your head without admitting that's what you're doing. You'll finish the month. You'll close your positions. You'll tell yourself you're taking a break, but you know what a break that long turns into. You've watched other people do it. They say they're stepping back to recalibrate, and then they just never come back. And you always wondered how someone could walk away from something they spent years building. Now you know. They walk away right after they change, right when the thing they were chasing stops being the thing they need. They don't recognize the change as progress. They recognize it as loss. Loss of intensity. Loss of identity. Loss of the feeling that made it real. And because they don't recognize it, they leave. They go find something else that feels like something. They think trading stopped working. Trading didn't stop working. They just started working differently, and it scared them. You're there right now. You're in the place where the old way doesn't fit, and the new way doesn't feel like anything yet. And instead of sitting in it long enough to see what it becomes, you're planning your exit. You're writing the script in your head. What you'll say if someone asks why you stopped, how you'll frame it so it doesn't sound like quitting. It won't matter how you frame it. You'll know. You'll know you left, right when you stopped needing to feel like a traitor and started just being one. You'll know you walked away from the thing you were trying to build because it stopped feeling like building. You'll know you mistook the absence of effort for the absence of progress. And maybe you'll come back. Maybe in 6 months or a year, you'll open the charts again, and you'll feel something, and you'll think that feeling means you're ready. But the feeling won't mean you're ready. It'll mean you're back at the beginning, needing trading to give you something it was never supposed to give you. Or maybe you won't come back. Maybe you'll find something else, something that feels urgent and new and important. Something that hasn't gone quiet on you yet, and you'll do that thing the way you used to do trading, with the same intensity, the same need for it to mean something. And eventually that thing will go quiet too. Because the quiet isn't about trading, it's about you. It's about what happens when your nervous system stops needing the high to trust that the thing is real. But you don't see that yet. All you see is flatness, and you're interpreting flatness as failure. You used to set alarms for every session. Pre-market, open, midday close. You'd be at your desk for all of them. You needed to be there. You needed to see it happen. Now you miss sessions and don't notice until after. You'll look at the clock and realize the best movement of the day happened an hour ago and you were doing something else. You used to panic when that happened. Now you just shrug. There'll be another day. That shrug terrifies you. Because the version of you that built this didn't shrug. That version showed up. That version cared. And if you're not that version anymore, then who are you? You're the version that doesn't need to perform showing up to prove you're serious. But you don't know that's what this is. You think you're slipping. You're not slipping. You're settling. And settling feels wrong because you've spent years being told that comfort is the enemy. That the moment you get comfortable is the moment you lose your edge. So you're trying to stay uncomfortable. You're trying to manufacture the urgency. You'll move your stop tighter than it needs to be, just to feel something. You'll take a trade you know is marginal just to keep your hand in. You'll check the P&L more than you need to, hoping the number will spark something. It doesn't spark anything. You're just performing tension. You had a drawdown 2 weeks ago, 3 losing days in a row. You were down $200. You used to spiral on a drawdown like that. You'd question everything. You'd go back through your journal, your screenshots, your notes. You'd stay up late trying to figure out what you were doing wrong. This time you just stopped trading for a day, came back, made it back in 2 trades, moved on. You think that means you don't care enough to fix your mistakes. It means you trust yourself enough to know that 3 bad days don't mean anything. But trust feels like complacency to you, so you're trying to make yourself care more. You're trying to make it mean something. You're trying to hurt the way you used to hurt. You can't. The hurt is gone. Not because you're numb, because you're not afraid of drawdown anymore. You've seen it enough times. You know it ends. You know you'll make it back. The certainty is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It just sits there. And you keep waiting for it to feel like confidence, but confidence used to be loud, and this is just steady. Steady feels like nothing. You almost told someone you were thinking about stopping. You typed the message. You looked at it. You deleted it. Because saying it out loud would make it real, and you're not sure if you want it to be real or if you just want someone to talk you out of it. But you know if they tried to talk you out of it, you'd resent them for not understanding. And if they agreed you should stop, you'd resent them for not fighting harder. So you keep it to yourself. You sit in it, you trade smaller, you show up less, you let the thing drift while you try to figure out if drifting is the same as quitting. It's not. But it will be if you decide it is. You've been thinking about what you'd do instead, not seriously, just in the back of your mind. You'd have more time. You could focus on other things. You could stop thinking about risk and reward and whether you're improving or regressing, or just flatlined. You could be a person who used to trade instead of a person who trades. That idea has more appeal than it should, not because you want to stop, but because you want to stop feeling like this, and stopping trading feels like the only way to stop feeling like this. But it's not. The feeling isn't coming from trading. It's coming from the gap between who you were and who you are now. And that gap exists whether you're trading or not. You think you're running from trading. You're running from the part of you that outgrew the need for trading to feel a certain way. If you stop now, you'll spend 6 months convinced you made the right call. You'll feel lighter. You'll tell yourself you're glad you walked away. And then one day you'll see a chart, or you'll hear someone talk about a trade, and you'll feel that pull, not the old pull, a different one, quieter. And you'll realize what you walked away from wasn't broken. You were just in between versions of it. But you won't come back. Because coming back feels like admitting you were wrong to leave. So you'll stay away. And the thing you built will just sit there, not dead, just abandoned. Or you won't stop. You'll keep going. Not because you talked yourself into it. Not because someone convinced you. But because you'll wake up one day and you'll trade. And it still won't feel like anything. And you'll be okay with that. You won't need it to feel like something. You'll just do it because it's what you do. And maybe 6 months from now, a year from now, you'll look back at this moment and you'll understand what was happening. You'll see that the flatness wasn't the end. It was the space between needing to prove something and just being able to do it. You'll see that you didn't lose the hunger. You lost the desperation. And desperation feels like hunger when you're in it. But it's not. It's just noise. But right now you can't see that. Right now all you see is the absence, the missing feeling, the quiet where the urgency used to be. And you're trying to decide if you can live in the quiet or if the quiet means it's over. You don't know yet, and no one can tell you. Because this is the part you have to sit in. This is the part where you either trust that the absence of intensity doesn't mean the absence of progress, or you don't. And if you don't, you'll leave. And if you leave, you'll never know what was on the other side of this. You're 1 week away from walking away. Maybe less. You've been counting down without realizing it. Telling yourself you'll see how the next few days go. Telling yourself if it doesn't feel different by Friday, by Monday, by the end of the month, you'll know it's time. But it's not going to feel different. Not in the way you want it to feel different. It's not going to suddenly feel exciting again. It's not going to feel urgent again. Those feelings are gone. They were part of the version of you that needed them. This version doesn't. And you can either believe that, or you can't.